The best way to put it is that we have entered a world of policing that is the stuff of science fiction.
Enhanced 5719.
We've been watching this stuff, facial recognition technology, biometrics,
The machine sees everything.
in movies, on TV, for decades.
What the heck? Is that a facial recognition scanner?
The technology is here. How do we make it efficient and reliable enough that we can depend on it?
Tyrone Carter worked in law enforcement before becoming a state rep.
Very few things have really changed about policing, except technology has enhanced it, made it better. When I hired in, I tell people, I carried a 357. We didn't even have semi-automatics back then. A huge radio, handcuffs, and that was it.
Last year, Carter wanted to slow the roll on facial recognition. Needs more discussion, but he says it can be a good investigative tool. Kubota Parthasarthi looks at technology and equity issues.
We published a report a year ago and looked at this, and we saw that it really is being used around the world, but without much regulation.
The Michigan State Police has the SNAP program using facial recognition. Not regulated, really. MSP observes a policy developed by the FBI.
Our database consists of roughly 54 million images. If they were arrested in our state or have a valid driver's license in our state, then that's what we would have.
Odds are you're in there, maybe a few times. The state police facial recognition package comes from DataWorks Plus in South Carolina. The Detroit Police Department is also a client.
The image was so clear, it was amazing.
Facial recognition came to the fore when police started watching video feeds from around the city. The program, Project Greenlight.
The high school I went to, the colors were green and white. So I have a thing with green.
Cass Tech alum and then Police Chief James Craig explains Greenlight to out-of-town reporters in 2018.
Our carjackings plummeted. And the reason why that happens because, frankly, carjackings were occurring at gas stations and liquor stores.
So we're being watched. But if they ID us with live video without probable cause, there are civil libertarians who don't like that idea.
That contract stated that a project objective, was to run facial recognition across live Project Greenlight feeds.
No indication that's happened, but many worried it could.
For better or worse, Detroit is a leader when it comes to the use of facial recognition technology.
But then how does facial recognition work anyway?
There are biases that make it less accurate, essentially among anyone who isn't a white man. Because the training data was very homogeneous, then the assumptions that this algorithm makes is based on the measurements of your average middle-aged white guy.
But this is Detroit, where cameras point mostly at people of color.
These communities of color have extremely long legacies of surveillance, even that date back to the founding of the country.
Certain people had to carry lanterns for easier identification when slavery was a thing. Remember COINTELPRO, electronic eavesdropping on Martin Luther King? But these are different times. What's to worry now?
You're not doing anything wrong. What's the big deal?
Our client, Robert Williams, had his photo in the database, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. And that didn't stop the Detroit police from, based on a facial recognition check, arresting him one day in his front lawn in front of his wife and 2 children, taking him to jail and holding him for approximately 30 hours, where he had to sleep overnight on a concrete bench.
All this revealed last year when a Detroit cop used Williams' picture from the state police database in a shoplifting case. MSP did not say it was a positive match, but the arresting officer seemed to take it that way.
Our investigative lead reports do indicate right on them that it's not probable cause for arrest, that it is a viable candidate, that further investigation is required to utilize that lead.
So is it about the technology or is it about just bad police work here?
I think it's about both the technology and the police work, and it's about the causal effect between the two. The simple fact is, using shoddy technology creates shoddy police work. We know this from our daily lived life, that when a computer tells us something, we're inclined to trust it. and sort of confirm what it already tells us.
Like Phil Mayer says, taking directions on our GPS.
I don't know hardly anybody who can't recount having turned the wrong way because Google Maps told them to, even when they knew very well that they were turning the wrong way at the time.
Someone else arrested for raising his voice about facial recognition.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Willie Burton, Detroit Board of Police Commissioner, gabbled out of order.
Let the commissioner go!
Police departments struggle to correct the bad apples. But yet, as an elected body, you move swift to arrest someone for simply questioning the policy and the procedure.
Let the commissioner go!
I stood up to protect our civil liberties.
Burton said he got a concussion. He's suing the PD.
San Francisco banned this technology. Portland banned the technology. Berkeley banned this technology.
Berkeley, as in California, Boston and Minneapolis banned it too.
We just had a county called King County in the state of Washington, one of the whitest counties in America, just banned this technology. Why does America's blackest poor city, Detroit, has to? It doesn't make any sense.
The commission voted strong approval of the technology, perhaps Burton's arrest prescient, coming before the Williams incident and 2 others, both African-American men in New Jersey and again in Detroit.
That's only 3. That isn't very many people that have been picked out wrongly by this facial recognition technology.
To which I would say, Bill, only 3 that we know of and have been able to be proven. This is a tip of an iceberg type problem. The vast majority of people are never told when facial recognition technology is used. In Mr. Williams's case, the only reason he found out was because the police were so surprised when they were speaking to him to realize that the photo was wrong that they said, the computer must have got it wrong.
The police commissioners have set guidelines for the technology, only to be used for violent crimes, and last month City Council passed what's called the Community Input Over Government Surveillance Ordinance.
And we hope that this will safeguard residents from having surveillance technologies forced upon them that don't do what they were told that they would do.
There will always be some form of surveillance. If you're African American, you're always going to have that. Now we have become the majority of elected and appointed officials, and we're going to double down on stuff. And with history and research behind it that says it doesn't work, at the end of the day, it comes down to thinking or lack of.